Welcome back. I am known as the famous American. I want to take your time and my time to discuss this. It is true, culturally, here in the United States, that in general, people in the United States, when we think of the term Mexican, we are never referring to the nationality. We are referring to people who either were born there and are now in the United States, or maybe they're a third generation Mexican American, but still they're of Mexican heritage. That's what we mean when we say Mexican. We don't care about nationality. In general, people in the United States do not care about nationality. I'll tell you a true story. I'm driving to work this morning. I see a lady jogging. She's wearing a hoodie sweatshirt and it says Irish. Now, I guarantee you, even if that lady's last name is O'Connell, I guarantee you she's probably born right here in the Tennessee area. And it's just because of that last name that's been passed down and oh yeah, we're Irish and we came over here during the potato famine, whatever it is. But she couldn't just find her family very easily and go to Ireland and fit in. She's an American by this point. She's been culturalized in American mindset. She's not Irish, but if you're an American in the United States and you can look at your family tree and see all these Irish surnames, more predominantly than the others, especially if that was her maiden name growing up. Why do you have an O and apostrophe? Oh, you're Irish. Yep, we're Irish. And then there's all these stereotypes that follow, because that is ultimately her tribalism, right? That's a thing that we need to recognize. So yes, that's how Americans are. We take a heritage, ethnic background. Where did those borders go? Where are those original homelands? Even if you and your own parents and grandparents have never even been to that country, and you identify as that. Oh, I'm American, but I'm Irish. Not really, but that's how Americans perceive things. Now, the point of this video is not that. That's the setup. The takeaway, the point of this video is people outside of the United States are bothered. There's an emotional reaction. There's a trigger when an American refers to someone who's Mexican, or even, what about this, half Mexican? I've said that in my videos before, that my mother is half Mexican. Yet my great-grandparents came here by train 100 years ago. So my own grandparents were never in Mexico. My great-grandparents came from here, but I'm, in theory, a third-generation Mexican-American, I guess you could say. But ultimately, my mom, her whole life saying, I'm half Mexican. So I'm a quarter Mexican. See, if you're in the United States, that doesn't bother you. That doesn't get under your skin. It's like, I say the thing, it connects in your brain, I get it, we're good in the conversation. But for someone outside the United States, especially in Europe, that's an emotional trigger. It changes your blood pressure to hear someone say that. Now, the point of this video is this. For me, it's tribalism. It's a case of tribalism. People think, because it's easy to think, these stupid Americans, so ignorant and arrogant. Clearly, do they realize that you can't just say that you're Mexican unless you were actually born in Mexico and that's your nationality? Doesn't this American guy realize that there are people, there are Chinese communities in Mexico that have been there for generations, and they came originally from China, but they're Mexican, they speak Spanish, they pick up on a lot of the culture, but they're Chinese. Americans don't care about that. We get that, we accept that, but we don't care. Because for us, part of our language, culturally, is to refer to someone by their ethnic background or heritage, no matter how Americanized they are. So, for example, your name, actually Henry Cho, he's a comedian from Tennessee, Korean American, Southern accent. He's I guess a first generation American. He couldn't be any more American until you look at him and see that his last name is Cho or whatever. So he's American, but if you're in the United States, oh yeah, he's an Asian American, he's a Korean American, he's Korean, but he was born here. That's how an American is going to perceive it. We're going to look first at ethnic background, and then we'll identify that you're American. Now, why? Why is that? Ultimately, my reasoning for it is because in the United States, our entire lives, we have to fill out forms for the government. We have to identify our ethnic background, and it sort of arbitrarily gives us divisions like white, European descent, Hispanic but not white, Native American, Black African, or Pacific, West, Pacific Northwest, whatever it is. So there's these very arbitrary ones. So there's a lot of categories that wouldn't really fit in. If you're Middle Eastern, like say you're from Jordan, what would you put on there? Well, arbitrarily now you're just white. So it's very confusing, yes. But see, that's part of how we're trained. We're trained to know our identity. I mean, I work in HR, so I know specifically how it works here with our laws and expectations for employers. If you have someone who's in a protected class, which includes minorities, and they are just as qualified as those who are of the ethnic majority, then basically you're obligated to hire the minority to give them a fair shot. So that's one of the reasons why we're required so often to identify what our ethnic heritage is, even if we're a third generation American. So yes, it's true. When I applied for my job nearly 2 years ago, I identified as Hispanic because even though it's confused, it says Hispanic, not white. Well, I'm white and I'm Hispanic, but if I chose white, then it's denying that I'm Hispanic too. So that's what I have always chosen, just by default. And it's all a bit silly and arbitrary, I know that. But ultimately, the real point of this video is tribalism. People who live outside the United States struggle to hear me say these words. They give these videos thumbs down, they get angry, they give big paragraphs about how arrogant and ignorant Americans are. But ultimately, it's a concept of tribalism. What if instead our tribes we're all human beings and we have different perceptions of reality? We have, because of our own cultures, we also have our own language and understanding things. It may sound silly to other places, but here, culturally, if you're going to fit in here, we would actually think it's kind of weird of you to be so specific about nationality. We don't care about nationality. We care about national origin, ethnic background. That's part of our culture. Are we racist? Well, ultimately, you could say that our government sort of trains us to be that way. We have to identify what we are. By default, we're going to identify what other people, not as a bad thing, but we're very aware of it. So your comments belong right here. And yes, I know it seems very ignorant and arrogant of Americans to talk about this openly. We should be ashamed, I know. But what I'm asking for you as a non-American is to recognize it's part of the culture here. And when we're passing judgment on another group of people because they don't see it the same way as us, one of my life mottos is this: refuse to look down on other people for having different views on you. Now, I know I've specifically pointed out Europeans, but when I look in the comment section, I'm not seeing people from Africa in the Middle East get all hot and bothered about this. I'm seeing Europeans. And that's why I'm making this video, because I want to try to, if I can, further understand the mindset of Europeans, because they're specifically triggered by this. The fact that if I say Mexican, I don't care about nationality. I care about ethnic background or national origin, but not nationality. Nationality is irrelevant here in the United States, where people they're first generation Americans, maybe they're immigrants, maybe they've been here a long time, but because of the last name and how they look, this guy is still Chinese to everybody else, even though he's a fifth generation American. Your comments belong right here.